Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over rigging of the boosted section of the tail rotor control. EC135 and H135. Alright, there's a lot of detail. First of all, we're going to go over why this is required, when it's required, how to do the job, where to find all the information, parts, not too many parts, but you got to have the special tools. Don't get frustrated doing this job. It's a frustrating job. Alright, before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's roll. All right, if you go to the MSM 052500, and you scroll all the way down to rotor flight controls, it's the first thing. It says do an adjustment of the boosted section of the tail rotor controls per this chapter, and it's intervals of 4,000 hours with a margin of 400 hours. Are we even tracking that? I don't even know if we're tracking this. Anyway, that's one of the reasons you have to do it. And this is effectivity P2, P2 plus, P3, P3H, and turbo mecha models as well. All right. When we go to chapter AMM 6700005-3, that's how we do the adjustment of the boosted section of the tail rotor controls. The other place that references doing this job is the installation of the tail rotor. All the same models we already talked about, but if you look at the top in the sections, it says adjustment of the boosted section of the tail rotor control. These are all the references for installing. Paragraph F24 says risk of malfunction of the tail rotor. The adjustment shim changes the pitch angle of the blades of the tail rotor. If the thickness of the adjustment shim is not correct, the tail rotor cannot work correctly. Make sure that you adjust the thickness of the adjustment shim when the controls of the tail rotor are adjusted. And that's a caution. Right underneath that is the note. It says you can install the adjustment shim 7 between the center flange and the control rod for the subsequent adjustment of the tail rotor. It says you can. Well, you shall. I have seen where it was shimmed with no shim, and the measurement was correct, but that was a long time. Just a heads up, the cautions in the notes are above the step that it is affected. So, which is easy to overlook. So right here it says F21, it says remove unwanted anti-corrosion agent as necessary, and then there's the caution and the notes. That's not for that part up there, it's for the part below that, F22. All right, just a heads up. And F22 says, do the steps that follow to install the adjustment shim 7 on the center borehole of the center flange as necessary. All right, we're going to go over the whole adjustment of the shim and the whole rigging of the boosted section, but this is just talking about the installation of the tail rotor right now. It says if you install a new shim, adjust the thickness of the adjustment shim as follows. It says you can find the necessary thickness of the thickness on the historical record of the tail rotor or in the measurement record of the boosted section of the adjustment of the tail rotor. Like this is in the records department stuff. If you know the necessary adjustment shim, then you can adjust as necessary. If you do not know the thickness of the shim, then you have to do the steps that follow, which is do the adjustment of the boosted section of the tail rotor, which is what we're going to go over here shortly. And then it says use the measured value to shim, of course, right. Also, if you continue to scroll down on the installation of the tail rotor, it says here, if you changed 5 or more blades since the last shimming, do the adjustment of the boosted section of the tail rotor controls. All right, now we're there, but it's going to be probably like a 25-30 minute video. You got to have the disclaimer, right? Sorry, 30 seconds of your life you won't get back. All right, before we begin, a quick disclaimer. I'm not affiliated with any aircraft manufacturers. I make these videos for entertainment, not education. Always refer to the manufacturer's maintenance instructions and not this video or any other videos on this channel. If there is something said in this video that is contrary to the maintenance manual, defer to the maintenance manual. Maintenance manuals are being revised all the time. Check current revisions prior to completing any maintenance on your aircraft. That being said, thank you for watching and let's roll. Okay, adjustment, boosted section of the tail rotor control. Boosted meaning it's after the hydraulics are applied to the tail rotor servo actuator. And this is in the AMM 6700005-3. Effectivity P1, P2, T1, T2. If T3 or a T3, it's the same reference. It's just the next one down over here on the left side. No big deal. We're going to do P2 and P2 plus. All right, if you scroll down just a little bit, the special tools that you need this kit right here. It's got these plastic pieces. These plastic pieces, we'll go over all this stuff. Clinometer, and they say accuracy 0.01 degrees. That's pretty dang accurate. But we're going to go over all of this here in a little bit. It shows routine replacement parts. Not exactly correct, because if you go into the IPC, you need the shim adjustment. If you don't have one, you need an extra one, right? Because if you have to add shim and you don't have a shim pack, then you're pretty much hosed. Where's the IPC 64220101 item 90, and there's a bunch of different things, but either way, the point is the part number is L642 Alpha 2039201. You get a new shim pack. Fantastic. Moving along on the adjustment. Here's a note. It is necessary to use values given in degrees with decimal numbers for the minutes. If you measure the angle in degrees and minutes, it's necessary to convert to the minutes. Look, if you're just watching this video for a refresher, you'll probably go halfway through this video and I'll walk you through all the math. Right now, we're just walking through everything for the new guys, okay? Or the guys who've never done this job before. It's not hard. It's a lot of words. All right, right here, you can overlook this, but in the end, you have to save this record in your permanent records of the aircraft. And therefore, you might want to write down what it says. It says record the helicopter serial number and the measurement record. Here's your measurement record that you're going to print out. You're going to record everything. You're going to put your shims that are on your aircraft on here, and this goes inside the logbook. Don't forget to do that. I forgot to do that last time. Next, we are effectivity with dual yaw actuator. Am I still recording? Yes, thank God. Disengage the rod end of the yaw actuator from the input lever of the fenestron actuator. Of course, you go to this chapter, but if you look here, it's just this. The rod end of the actuator, take the hardware and the bolt out and all that stuff. Not a big deal. Disconnect it. Effectivity all. Install the removed close tolerance bolt into the input arm, or I'm sorry, the input lever, because you just removed the rod end and you just set that to the side. So the tail rotor control moves freely. That's what we're dealing with here. Move the input lever fully forward. And then, or I'm sorry, there's a caution. It says risk of damage. You could bend the wire and support if you tighten the cable tie too much. Tighten the cable tie carefully. So they want you to move the input lever fully forward and attach a zip tie to the close tolerance bolt and the wiring support. Just like this. Don't push it too hard, but make sure it's fully forward. Otherwise, your numbers will be wrong. So go back, try to pull it back and push it forward. If it moves at all, you need to tighten that, but don't break that, what they call it, the wiring support. All right, cool. Okay, next, there's a note. The toolkit contains slotted centering bushings, of course. If you click on that blue hyperlink, which is the part number of the tool, it brings you to drawings where that part number tool is used. And if you scroll up and down, there's like 6 or 7 on here. All have the same part number, so just click the big box right here, the big rectangle, and that will bring you to the drawing that shows you what the tool looks like. It comes in a case. It has, I guess, 20 of these black plastic rings for the inner bearing and the outer bearing of the tail rotor, and the holder for the clinometer. All right, it says install the slotted centering bushings on the component that follows, which the wording here is kind of strange, but anyway, the point is, the larger ones, the slot centering bushings, these plastic pieces, they go from the tip of the blade towards the inside of the center of the tail rotor assembly, and they go from outboard to inboard, if that makes sense. It's on the outer ring, and the small one goes on the inner ring, and it should look like this. It's going to be very hard to get all of them in to look like this. You're probably going to have a third of them that won't go in just because it's so dang tight. Just do your best. If you get them all in, then it's going to be way more accurate. and you might only have to do this job once instead of like 4 times like we're doing today. No worries. All right, it says make sure that the clinometer is vertical to the ground, which is what we're going to show you a picture of what we're talking about here, but let's go over the notes. Note, section AA, figure 2 of this thing shows the bank angle A, which is the inclination of the rotor head in a horizontal level ground. All right, so let's go to the drawing they're talking about. First thing you need to note is the position of the drawing that we're looking at. Then we look at AA. The A is cut up and down through the center, vertically through the cross section of the tail rotor. And also note that the arrows by the A are also pointing forward. That means you're looking at it from behind the aircraft, center line of the tail rotor. So if you go to the section AA over here down on the bottom, it shows the tail rotor tilted to the left a little bit from center, and that's the whole point they're talking about. Also, this is important, back on the note, another note, it says the bank angle A is -1 degrees in theory if the helicopter stands exactly on the horizontally. If your hangar floor is perfectly level and your aircraft is perfectly level to the floor too, then that should be a -1. Note, it's a negative number. You're going to put an inclinometer up there and it's going to show you a positive number. I'm going to say this more than once. When you write it down, make sure you write it down as a negative number. Unless your helicopter is tilted to the right more than 1 degree, then it's going to be a positive number. So just pay attention to what angle it is. So you got to hold it like this, tilt it till it goes vertical, which is 0. And then you continue on. It's still going to be a positive number on your gauge, but you write it down as a negative number because it's negative to vertical. See the negative number on the drawing. To the left is a negative number. Important. I've seen this done wrong many times. That's why I'm making this video. All right. Record the bank angle A in the measurement record figure 5. So when it says make sure your clinometer is vertical, you have to hold that clinometer on the center ring in the forward position of the center of the tail rotor hub, right here. And you get a number, and it's going to bounce around, and you're going to double check, and you're not going to feel confident about the number. Just pull the trigger on a number. Like, feel confident that you have the center, you're holding it steady, it's level, no one's crawling on the helicopter making it bounce around. Because you want this number, once you figure out this number, write it down on your chart. Don't go back and look again, okay? Unless you move the helicopter, which you shouldn't be doing. And I'm blah, blah, blahing you to death. Like I said, record the bank angle A in the measurement record of the sheet, which is on this sheet right here. It's letter A. That's the number that you measure yourself. Next, move the tail rotor to the horizontal position. It says, note above it, you can use a clinometer to find the horizontal position. Well, that's rad. Just like that. Not hard. Then it says, identify the horizontal position of the tail rotor blade on the fenestron with tape. Put a mark on the fenestron structure on where the horizontal position is because you have to check all 10 blades. Then it says, identify the tail rotor with a strip of adhesive tape. That just means, well, you could mark them all 1 through 10, but if you just mark the first one, then you know it's number 1 in your brain, or you could write 1 on it. If you want to mark all 10, you go for it. I'm not going to stop you. Next, the toolkit contains the clinometer retaining bracket. Right, so look at the clinometer retaining bracket, and it has a number stamped into it. It says X equals whatever. And on ours, it says X equals 0.21. So you write that number down on the sheet next to the letter X. Now you're good. So you got A. That's your starting point. And then we're going to go forward and measure some stuff. All right, now we're going to measure the pitch angle of the tail rotor of each blade. No problem. But at this point, if you appreciate this content and you want to help support my channel, in the description, the first link is buy me a coffee. course, I'll use that money to buy something else, probably some beers, maybe something else, coffee, or even Bitcoin. But if you want to support the channel, hit the link, buy me a coffee. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Moving forward. What do we do now? All right, there's a caution. When you're hooking up this contraption, put your clinometer on, it attaches to each blade. Be careful you don't screw the blade up, is what they're saying when you attach it. So this piece flaps open like this. You go around the blade, you clamp it, or actually it's vice versa. Anyway, you get the point. You clamp it, you squeeze it down. Before you squeeze it down, slide it until that one spacer piece hits the inside of the tail rotor blade, inside the bearing. Because you know how the blade comes down like this and then it widens up? It needs to hit right here, if that makes sense. Okay. I'll show you pictures. Carefully install the clinometer with the clinometer training bracket as follows. Got it. Our clinometer is too small. It won't fit inside of that bracket, so you just hold it there. It says install the clinometer retaining bracket onto the tail rotor blade. Adjust the clinometer retaining bracket to the length of the clinometer. Anyway, they're just, if you have one that will fit, because that piece slides onto the bracket, you'll figure it out when you look at it. It says make sure that the spacer touches the blade root inside of the centering bushing, right? So this is what the drawing is on how to hook up the tool with the clinometer or inclinometer to measure the degree angle of the blade at a certain position. That's why the spacer's there. It has to be at that position because the blade kind of, I think it rotates a little bit. The further you go out from the base of the blade, retaining bracket with your hand, install the clinometer onto the retaining bracket. The word clinometers. Gosh. Okay, here's what it looks like in real life. There's a spacer. It goes inside of where that centering bushing, and it touches the base of the tail rotor blade. That gives you the right distance, so everything's set at the right place. Align the tail rotor with the adhesive tape on the fenestron structure in the horizontal position like that. And it says turn the tail rotor blade until the clinometer shows a minimum angle value. Turn is probably, the word turn probably isn't the right word. I think they mean rotate, you know, change the pitch axis of that blade until it's the smallest one possible. Okay, record the minimum angle in the measurement record. This is blade 1. So you hold it there, you get the minimum. You don't torque the crap out of it to get to the super minimum. You just move it to the minimum. Let it sit there. You make sure everything's stable. And the number's going to bounce around. And eventually it's going to stop at one number. Write that number down. That's blade number 1. Remove the clinometer retainer bracket from the tail rotor and install it on the next blade. And do the measurement of the pitch angle again until you measure all of your blades. So we measure all of our blades. Boom, 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 boom. 10. All right, next. All right. Caution. Risk of damage. When you calculate the values, a confusion of the sign, plus or minus, when you're doing basic math, will cause incorrect results. Make sure that you record the correct sign. Like I said, what was that to mention? A is going to be a negative number unless your helicopter's crazy tilted to the right. If you're in a normal hangar floor that's relatively flat, that number is going to be a negative number. If you put it here as a positive number, your rigging will be completely wrong. Ask me how I know. Right? Okay. Doing this for years, and it's been super not clear for years. They changed the manual. I think this is revision, what is it? To the maintenance manual. Where's it at? This is revision 15.00. I think it was updated in May 2025. Don't quote me on it. But if this changes, don't go over my video. You need to read the maintenance manual. Very important. Read the manual. All right. Where are we at? Okay, so note, for reference, see example in figure 6. So they have a sheet with their numbers so you can follow with the math. But we're going to go through this with our example. It says calculate the deviation of the tail rotor pitch angle from the specified angle as follow, which is the standard. You add all of the numbers from each blade, and then you divide by 10, and that's your average. So you type that in there, good to go. 38.11 is what we have. Next. Ooh, it changed color on me. Awesome. Calculate the corrected angle AC, angle C corrected AC, and record it in the measurement value. How do we do that? The corrected angle equals M, which is what we just figured out, minus 3.4 minus X, which is the number on the bracket, plus A. A is a negative number. That's when we measured from the center of the hub. That's a negative number. So it says plus A. Well, it's plus a negative number, which makes it negative. Okay, basic math. Not a big deal. But don't let all the words confuse you. The corrected angle, AC, equals the number we got average, 38.11, minus 3.4, which is the standard, minus 0.21, which is the number on our bracket, minus 0.080, which is the degrees of the currently where our hub is sitting in space. We did that measurement, negative 0.80. All right, in our example, we get 33.70. Fantastic. And what is that number? That's the corrected angle. All right, now what do? Calculate the deviation R from the specific angle and enter it in the measurement record. R equals the standard, 34.6, minus what we calculated. So 34.6 is the angle that they want the blades to be at, but you can't put the thing up there and go, oh, it's not 34.6. No, you got to do all this math. All right. Standard, 34.6. And what do we get? R equals 34.6 minus what we just calculated, 33.70. And what do we get? And we get 0.90 degrees. Okay, here's a note. The specified 34.6 has a tolerance of plus or minus 4. Well, don't confuse yourself with the with the minus and the positive signs here. If the deviation R is not in the limits, then you need to adjust the adjustment washer thickness on the center flange, that's your shim, of the pitch change spider as follows. Well, ours is not. Ours is greater than 0.4. It's 0.9. It's greater by a decent amount. And this is how you do the calculation. The adjustment washer sheet layers with a thickness of 0.05 millimeters, or which is 0.05 of a millimeter, or 0.02 of an inch. That's the thickness of a sheet of paper. It is necessary to round the calculated value down or up to exactly that limit, 0.05 millimeters. We're just going to talk about millimeters so we don't keep going back and forth. All right, here's a note. A change of thickness of 0.32 millimeters, which is pretty much a third of a millimeter, is equivalent to the change of the tail rotor pitch angle of 1 degree. Okay. Calculate the thickness of the adjustment washer and record it in the measurement record. The sheet we've been filling out. Record it there. Use the format that follows. Change the thickness B, change of thickness B equals R times 0.32. Not difficult. So now you figure out B, which is the thickness of the washer that we need to have in there, which is the number we just got, R, which is the deviation, 0.90 times 0.32 millimeters per angle, gives us 0.288. And they wanted us to round, but anyway, we're not going to worry about that right now. Remove the center flange with the adjustment washer and the pitch change spider. So you go to a different section. We're not removing this is removing the tail rotor, but we're not going to do the whole thing. It's just the flange, if that makes sense. Like, we already have the fairing off, so we're just going to do that. It's not the pitch change spider. It's the pitch change flange that has a shim in it. We'll show you pictures. So we're going to pull that flange out. Measure the thickness of the removed adjustment washer. So there's a shim in there. They want you to put a micrometer. They want you to put a micrometer on there and check out to see the thickness of that. And you write that down under C. Figure out how thick that is and write it down. That's the old shim. Letter C is the thickness of the old shim washer. For us, it's 0.21 millimeters. This is at the start. Next, determine the thickness D of the adjustment washer, which is not complicated. Calculate D, the new adjustment washer, and record it into the measurement record, which is what we're going to do. What does that mean? That just means the new washer needs to equal the old washer plus how much more washer we need, which is what we calculated. D equals C plus B. Not complicated. 0.498 millimeters is our new shim washer total stack up. Fine. Fantastic. Remove shim slices of the adjustment washer to adapt its thickness to the required thickness that we just calculated, D, or use a new adjustment washer as necessary. Okay. Do add more shims, or if you start with a new thick shim pack, you could try and get to the right shim size from the start, and you'll still have a ton extra on that shim pack in case you need more shims or whatever. So you adjust it, the center cover, and the new adjustment washer. That's under installing the tail rotor, which you're going to skip all of it and go down to where it starts. Make sure you add the CA1010, and I don't think it calls out for TP42. Just read the manual. Shim goes inside of there. We'll talk about this more here in a minute. Installation of the tail rotor. Replacement parts. Okay, it doesn't have the shim there either. All it has is the part number for the cotter pin. Fine. Scroll down. There's two different variants. Nut that holds that flange on to the tail rotor and the control. Two different variants and two different torques. Different. One is variant 2 is 222 to 265 inch-pounds. Variant 1, which is what we have, 169 to 212. Not the same torque at all. You need to know what nut you have. All right, variant 1 is part number nut EN3434-100, and variant 2 is ASNA. Maybe I have that written down wrong. Nope. ASNA 0272-100. Variant 2 is the nylon locking nut, and variant 1 is the steel locking nut. And there's no way you would ever know that if you didn't know that. That makes sense. I took a picture of this. I have it with me. I know which nut is nut, which is which, and how much the torque is. Anyway, continue installing. You go all the way down to paragraph F20, the installation of the flange. We're not going to go through all of this. Go through it. Apply anti-corrosion agent to the mating surface of the flange with the control rod in zone A. Figure out where zone A is. Don't get it all over the place. Make sure that you do not get anti-corrosion agent onto the control rod or to other surfaces outside zone A. It will fly away because it spins at 1,000,000 miles an hour and it will get crap all over everything. Remove unwanted anti-corrosion agent. So install the center flange. Torque it to what it's supposed to be so you know that the gap is correct with that shim. Got it? Because if you have a bunch of loose shims in there and they're not squeezed together to get all the way, then your measurement will be wrong. Just a heads up. So that was installing the flange with the new adjustment washer. What do we do next? Oh, you guessed it. You do the adjustment again to make sure that it adjusted it correctly. Spoiler alert, we had to do this 4 times. Measure the pitch angle at each tail rotor blade again. Calculate the deviation R from the specified angle again. If the deviation R is not in limits, adjust the thickness washer again. And don't get frustrated. Just if you got one guy doing it, you check the measurements, you do your math, and you adjust it. Then you check it, you do your math, you adjust it again. And if it takes you 3 or 4 times, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. Don't get all cranky. All right, so what do? Measure it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Write it all down. Boom. Take the average. We'll do all the math again. We'll walk through it slowly. You got your average. What do? You take, I can't read that up there, but I got the screen right, or I got the sheets right here. Fantastic. It says, what's it say? So you take your average, which is M. You take M minus 3.4 minus X, which is the number on the tool. And then you add A, which is a negative number. Do that math. What do we get second time? Let's see. because I have it. I don't know. I got crazy words, right? Crazy words. First sheet. I mean, I wrote the numbers down so many times it's out of control to make this video, so it makes sense. Okay, so where are we at here? We go to all right. Oh, I went too fast. All right. 33.745. That is the corrective angle. Next, we need to figure the deviation R of the corrected angle from the specific angle 34.6. What do? We take 34.6, subtract what we figured out for our corrective angle, AC, which is 34.6 minus 33.745. This is after we shim adjustment. We get 0.855. What did we have before? 0.90. It didn't change that much. Didn't change as much as I thought it would change. And what's it say? If R is greater than 0.04, if R is greater than 0.4 degrees, determine the thickness to be compensated for R. So we got to do it all again. So the new shim thickness, determine thickness B to compensate for deviation R. B is now on this math right here. You take the number R, multiply it by 0.32, you get 0.2736, which is way too many decimal places you don't need to worry about. C, what's the thickness of the old adjustment washer, which we just did that math, but when we measured it when we put it in, 0.508. That was the exact measurement of the shim that we put in, which was a little bit more than the calculation we made. Now, or the new shim washer should be this much, which is the thickness of the washer you have in there now, plus B, which is the calculated compensated deviation. A lot of big words. Our new shim should be 0.7816 millimeters. Fantastic. We ended up putting in 0.82 millimeters because we can't get any more further decimal places than 2. Cut yourself a new shim. Take the flange off again, according to the maintenance manual. Put the new shim in there. And we do it again. All 6 bolts, torque them up. Center bolt, torque that nut. It's a crap ton. It's 200, whatever. It depends on the nut you have. Torque it good. Torque it right. Make sure it's torqued. Don't just snug it down, because it won't be tight enough against the pitch control rod, and it won't be right. Torque it. You don't have to put a cotter pin in it yet. We'll do that later. Don't forget. Of course, because you're going to have somebody inspect this before you put everything together at the very end. Anyway, again. So let's do it again. What do we got? Boom, 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 boom. Measure it again. Take the average, 38.39. Take the corrected angle, 33.98. What did we have last time? First time we had 33.70. Then we had 33.745. Now we have 33.98. So it's better. What's it say? The deviation. Last time it was 0.855. Now it's 0.62. It's still above the limit. It's greater than 0.4. Dang. Our old shim was 0.82. Our new shim, essentially 1.02. All right. Let's cut ourselves a new shim. Oh, so when we put the new shim on, it measured out 1.09 millimeters. So go ahead, take it apart, put the new shim in, take the old shim out, add a new shim that's bigger. What do we say? 1.09 millimeters is the one we put in. Torque it down again, check your measurements again. First time, the average was 38.11. Second time, 38.15. After this last shim, that don't make any sense. Or that makes sense. Finally, 39.025 for the average. Take your number, 39.025 minus 3.4 minus X, the number you got off the tool, minus plus A, which is a negative number, which is what you calculated when you put the clinometer against the inner ring on the front side of the tail rotor. I know I've said that like 4 times, but now you know. You'll dream about this, right? Deviation R of the corrected angle from the specified angle. 34.6 subtracted what we have, 34.615, which is, it gives us a negative 0.015. which is way below 0.4 millimeters, so we're good. The math, and that's a number you can't even make a shim for, because the shim is what, 0.05 millimeters is the smallest shim. Sounds good. You could be done right now if you really wanted to be done right now, but guess what? We're going to check the numbers again, because it seemed to not be working out like it should be, right? Because it took us 3 times to shim this. Anyway, check the numbers again. What do we get? 38.98 for the average. Do the math. 34.57. So 34.57, you take 34.6 minus 34.57. What do you get? 0.03, which is tiny. And what's the limit? The limit is 0.4 degrees. I'm sorry, I was saying millimeters earlier. This is degrees. So what we get is 0.03 degrees different than what it's supposed to be, the standard, 34.6. So what do we do now? We're done. We're done. I mean, everything has to get put back together. So as long as you got the Masinox, as long as you got the CA1010 in there and everything put together like it should and torqued, then the only thing you can, well, let's continue. All right, fantastic. What's the manual say? It says remove the slotted centering bushings that we had put in there. Those right there, put them in your toolbox. Put them in the box it came in. Remove the adhesive strip from the tail rotor and the fenestron structure. These 2 pieces of tape, take them off. The pedals through their full range of control. Make sure they move freely, even though everything's not connected at all. We're just moving the pedals. Check that they didn't tell you to do. They're telling you to do it right now. Make sense? Remove the cable tie. That one. Connect the rod actuator to the input lever of the fenestron actuator. Go to that chapter, AMM 6720004-13. That tells you the torques. And if you need if you need CA1010, anti-corrosion prevention, go there. Safety wire, cotter pin it the right way. Cotter pinned. Make sure your flange has a cotter pin through that nut, because you hadn't done that before. And it didn't, well, it did tell you that. It did say install the tail rotor according to this chapter. And it did tell you to put the cotter pin in it. But you weren't doing it every time, because you would have gone through 5 cotter pins. But you should, whatever, do that. At the very end, before you put the tail rotor fairings on, write the amount of shims on your flange so you know for later. Just write in there with a pen. Shim equals 1.09 millimeters. That's what we have installed on this one. All right, just to make your life easier. All right, then install the fairings. Here, put the measurement record, the sheet that we have filled out, into the historical record of the helicopter. So put it in the logbook. Attach it to the logbook. Attach it to that page in the logbook. Make sense? I didn't do that last time, so I need to go back and do that. But on the form, the last form you filled out, you didn't have the shim on there, so go ahead and write the shim. Shim equals 1.09 millimeters or whatever. Also, enter the thickness of the adjustment washer into the log card of the helicopter. It's a special place. At the very beginning, we said you have to do this every 4,000 hours, or if you change more than 5 blades. So there's a place in the records department that has this number. It has a block. Should be somewhere. A long time ago, on a way previous revision, it used to say on the hard card of the tail rotor gearbox. It doesn't say that now. So I don't know where it is. Hand jam an email up, send it to your records department, say, I just did this job, and the new shim, and the thickness of the adjustment washer, I keep calling it a shim, which is exactly what it is X, Y, and Z. Please add this to the hard card of the helicopter. And they'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever, your job's done. Cool. Then it says, remove all tools and other materials and clean the work area. Even go for a operational check flight just for good times, just to make sure your pilots are happy with it. That's it. That was a long one. Browbeat you guys to death. I said the word, I don't even know. I've never said the word clinometer so many times in my life as I have on this video. All right. I totally forgot something I was going to talk about a long time ago, but about 15 years ago, before I got here, I've never seen this. But maybe about 5 years ago in the maintenance manual, it did say, check the shim washer, the one we've been talking about the entire video. But it also said underneath that is a also quote unquote shim washer, spacer washer, the hell. Anyway, that is bonded inside of this, the center flange right here. There's I swear it's like a 1/4 inch big aluminum spacer, but they call it like a shim spacer, shim washer. Don't confuse that with what we're talking about. The adjustment shim, adjustment washer that we've been talking about this entire time. Okay? It used to say, ensure that that is in there. It used to not be bonded. Now it's bonded. I'm saying like the last 10, 15 years. I've never seen it not bonded to that hub piece. Just a heads up. If you open the whole thing and you're working on a machine that's 15, 20 years old and you're like, wait, what's going on here? You're not seeing the same stuff we're seeing, and this is why we're talking about it right here, that big, huge aluminum spacer. And we'll take a look at it real quick on the IPC. All right, a quick walkthrough on the IPC where it shows this part that I'm talking about that no one ever talks about. It used to be in the maintenance manual. It's not anymore. 64220101. Oh, let's check that out. There's multiple there's two different center flanges. If you change one for the other part number one, you need to do this rigging that we're talking about on this entire video. But right here, item 90 is the shim washer, the adjustment shim, the adjustment washer, what we've been talking about this entire video. Okay. Item 80 is something different, but you can't see it until you hit the plus sign on this next to the center flange on the left side of the center flange, number 70. So number 80 is a piece that's bonded inside the center flange, and they call it the shimming washer. Don't confuse that with what we've been talking about all day. But it should be bonded on the center flange now. I haven't seen one not bonded. But if it becomes disbonded, well, then you have some issues here, okay? I hope you guys found some value in this video. And if you did, share it with some of the guys who might find it interesting. And if you feel like helping to support the channel, first link, click the description, drop down, first one, buy me a coffee. It's like buymeacoffee.com/helicopter help desk. Pretty sure that's what the link is anyway. Appreciate your support. Yeah, this one, I'm not even done yet. I still got like 4 more hours of editing. I've already spent 20 to 30 hours putting all of these pictures together and drawing all these lines. And how long did I have it been talking? It's probably about an hour of talking and an hour of prep. And then probably about 4 more hours of editing my audio and video to match it with everything on the screen that I was reviewing while I was talking to you about this video anyway. Not trying to complain at all. I'm just letting you guys know this takes a minute. I can't pump out a video every 3 days. It's just too much. I have a job too, right? Base and nothing's going on. I'm babysitting, so I could just go hang out at the hotel and play video games. Or, it's like 25 degrees out, so I'm not going hiking, right? Can't drink beers, so why not do this, right? And I had a couple people try to get a hold of me. Anyway, we've connected, but my email is at the bottom of the description. Hit the description of every video at the very bottom. It says you can contact me at this email address. Also, if you click on my page and the description of my page, not this video, it shows it. There's a direct email for me. A lot of you guys know me. Some of you guys know me. I have more followers now. Anyway, I'm blah, 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 and you guys to death. Thank you for support. Sorry about the background. Looks lame. No airplanes, nothing cool. But that's just life. All right. Again, thanks for your support. Appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.